Because your energy goes towards what you believe and away from what you don't believe. You are loved. You are valuable. You are worthy. You are talented. You are smart. That keeps us from reaching our goals and becoming the person that we truly desire to be. I want to share my story is to simply inspire others, to connect with others, and to literally let you know how awareness and how you can be so impactful to your own life. That's a big thing. So as I go through my journey, you'll kind of understand and see where I'm coming from. And I'm just hoping that this reaches someone who is needing to hear this, because I remember back when I was going through and I really needed someone to talk to, but I didn't know who to reach out to, who to listen to, who to turn to. And it's like I had to go through this journey in solitude, honestly. And going through this in solitude and guiding myself through all the things that I've been through into a higher state of awareness, and being able to raise my vibrations and understand the power of your subconscious mind, your words, the words that you speak, the perception of yourself, how that all contributes to the experience of your life. So thanks again for tuning in to my story, and I'm just going to dive right in, and I'm going to jump back in reflection to when I first moved to Los Angeles. Now this was I believe the end of 2006. I believe it was September, because I remember praying. I was like, okay, I'm praying. I know I was at the time I was going to El Centro Community College, because I'm from Dallas, Texas. So I was going to El Centro Community College. Initially I started off as a nursing student, and then it kind of dawned on me one day. I was like, I'm going to school to be a nurse, but once I get this degree for a nurse, I'm gonna move to LA to become an actor. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I just dropped all of that. I redid my degree and just went for general arts and graduated. And I moved to LA 2006 of September. I got there, and of course I had my journey. I got my job, I did this class, that class, a lot of studying, XYZ. 11 years in is where things kind of really started to shift for me. So 11 years in, this is when I've always had financial issues, right? So 11 years in is when I found myself in my Silver Lake rented room for $500 that I couldn't barely even pay for. I was in my room, and this is when I began listening to Abraham Hicks initially and Wayne Dyer. I was listening to both of them pretty heavily at this time. So I came across this lean test. This lean test literally determines what you believe. So you literally stand up on your feet, body evenly, your weight evenly distributed on both of your feet, and you make a statement that you believe that is absolutely true. So I did that. So I stood up, planted my feet evenly, and I said, my name is Deidre. My body naturally shifted forward. I said, I'm from Texas. My body naturally shifts forward, because your energy goes towards what you believe and away from what you don't believe in your subconscious mind, right? So I said, and I made the statement, I believe in myself. And I almost fell back, and it shook me to my core. This broke me down. I cried so hard, because year after year after year, you consciously tell yourself, I believe in myself. I can do this. I believe in myself. Can't nothing stop me, blah, blah, blah. And you're saying these things, but deep down, there's so many unconscious limiting beliefs that we have that keeps us from reaching our goals and becoming the person that we truly desire to be. This broke me down so hard. I felt like I betrayed myself. I felt like I had not a clue on why I was here on this earth. And I know that in this moment, I needed something. I needed someone, I needed an answer, I needed a solution, because I knew that that place, I didn't want to be there anymore. And so now the reason for me sharing this, my story, is because I want to be that person that for those people who are in this position right now. So if you're seeing this video, I am grateful that you are. I am here for you. I understand. I see you. We are one. We are in this lifetime together to learn, to evolve, to grow, to love each other unconditionally. So I appreciate you being here. I am grateful. And if you want to leave a comment, let me know if this resonates with you. I appreciate that as well. I just wanted to say how big of a responsibility I currently feel. And this is a big reason why I'm coming back to YouTube, because I feel that God gave me this journey and this purpose, and me not sharing it is me not doing my service as a human being. And I feel that we all have a service as a human being to share information or your expertise, whatever it is, because we all need it in some way or another. And some people resonate with you opposed to someone else who may be sharing the same type of information, but it's specific to your personality and the way you perceive it and the way you explain it. So I am grateful that you're here, that you're tuning into this story, and I hope you share this love by hitting like and subscribe, so that others who are needing this message and needing to hear this story and needing to resonate and connect with someone can have this opportunity. So shortly after this lean test, again, I was staying in Silver Lake at the time, and I was working 2 jobs. They were not giving me anything. I couldn't pay my rent, and at the time I was trying to do in this acting class that I couldn't even afford, and that's a whole nother story. So I'm in Silver Lake. I did this lean test. I had these 2 jobs that weren't paying me anything, and at this time I had to move because I couldn't afford my Silver Lake apartment anymore. I just could not pay the rent. So I had to move out, and I had no place to go. I had no money to pay for anything, and at this point I became homeless. From that point I began living out of my car. I was living out of my car for 1 year and 2 months, okay? During this year and 2 months, this was the end of 2017 going into 2018. So this year, I always say that this year was my best year and my worst, because it was my best because I dove so deep into my self-development work. I discovered so much. I grew so much during this time. I had a hardcore breakdown that I'm about to share in just a moment. But at the same time, because I was homeless, it didn't seem like the ideal situation, because you're homeless. You know, it's raining, you're having to live in your car and find out where to go to the restroom and shower and all of these things. And it was challenging in that sense. But at the same time, it was somewhat challenging because, and I say that simply because, so I'm an earth sign and I love nature, and even growing up we went camping for fun. I even, you know, I would go on road trips and go camping and sleep in my car for fun. So sleeping in my car, it wasn't as horrible because my natural state is to be, you know, in nature, and going camping was fun for me. So that wasn't a horrible struggle, but it was in a sense because I felt like I was not obviously where you need to be. Everyone wants this comforting home to go home to, and at that time I just felt like I was at this stuck point, and I didn't know how long this was going to last. So many nights in that car when I was trying to sleep, I cried so deeply because I didn't understand. I was just saying to myself, this has to end at some point. This has to end. I'm like, 3 months in, this has to end. 6 months in, this has to end at some point. 8 months in, this has to end. A year. I was like, it was a whole year, and I was like, I don't understand. And at this point, this is when I was driving and I would park on a certain area just to chill and rest under a shade tree. This was a really hot time of the year. And I remember I came to this point and I just broke down. I broke down the hardest I have ever broken down. That lean test was just the beginning. This breakdown, I was crying, I was driving, and I didn't know where to drive to because I had nowhere to go. And I broke down and I was yelling and I was like, who are you? You have got the nerve. Who do you think you are? I am nothing. I don't have anybody. I can't talk to anybody. And this, oh, it was such a jolting feeling because I was just literally broken down to my absolute core. Whew. I haven't relived that moment in a long time. But I felt like I was nothing. I felt like I had no purpose and no value. I felt like I had no purpose and no value. And I was driving and I was just yelling out to myself, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And then I remember a shift happening. And as I was yelling at myself, who do you think you are? This shift happened. And I began to speak positively towards myself. It was like my spirit guides just tapped in. And they just said, Deidre, you are love. You are valuable. You are worthy. You are talented. You are smart. And I just started speaking these positive things, and it was like it wasn't me at the time. And I just remember feeling like after that was done, I just kind of looked like what? Where did that come from? Who was that? That didn't feel like me. And I felt like, in hindsight, looking back, my spirit guides were really there with me. And this is when I really started to pay attention and intentionally try to tap in and to listen and to hear them when they spoke to me. And they have guided me throughout this path since that day forward. And that is why I feel it's so important to tap into awareness. Because if you're not aware of where you want to go, you can't quite get there. If you're not tapping into your spiritual self, your spirit guides cannot lead you. They do in a sense, but when you become more aware, you can go further faster. And I'm just so appreciative of that time of me having to go through that. And some people may think, oh, you could have just moved back home and not be homeless. It wasn't the not being homeless. It was me having to help myself here in my mind before I could move forward. I couldn't depend on someone else to just help me on the outside of things. I had to help myself on the inside of things, in my mind, in my perception, the way I believed. So that wasn't just an easy answer of go stay with a friend, move back home. That wasn't the answer for me at the time, and I knew that, and that's why I did my work. Now I do want to tap into another reason why I was still there and didn't go home was because I was still working. I had ended up getting a job as a banquet server at the time, and I still had an agent, and I was going on auditions still. So, and at that time, at the end of 2017, this was, well, when was this? Okay, so the end of 2018, December, is when I got my apartment. It was a year before that. So I had an audition for a commercial, and this was a national commercial back in 2017. And this was around September, October, November, maybe November, December-ish. And I had booked this national commercial, and this national commercial ended up being the George Clooney, The Quest, from like the Game of Thrones ending year, and it was like Natalie Dormer and George Clooney were the leads, the stars of this commercial, and I got principal. So this commercial, it gave me a lump sum of money at the top, but because it took a year for it to start airing, I had to wait a whole year for me to get that first big check. So that whole big year I was waiting for that check, I couldn't make car payments. I ended up getting my car repoed before I was officially homeless and living out of my car, because I was staying with a friend before a few friends before, and I had gotten my car repoed twice. And actually once before this time. During my time living in my car, it was attempted to be repoed once. It was pouring down raining. I was parked at the library taking a nap in my car. I was on my cycle. Cramps were heavy and fierce, and I was just in pain, and I was in a deep sleep. It was raining hard, and I was asleep in my car, and I all of a sudden felt a jolt, and I woke up like, what the heck was that? And then it was raining, so I couldn't see clearly what was going on. And then the tow truck guy came around and he saw that I was in my car, and then I was like, oh my God. He was like, we have to take your car. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, you can't. You absolutely can't. I have nowhere to go. Please don't. And it was pouring down raining, and he felt bad, so he did not repo my car. And I was just like, no, I can't get out of this car. I have nowhere to go. Absolutely no. And so I am grateful for this man, whoever he was. He didn't take my car that day. But this happened again when I was sleeping in my car. It wasn't raining. The guys that came to pick up my car were not nice. I was going to say they were a-holes, but they were not nice at all. They had no humanity. And it wasn't that I didn't want them to not take it just because I'm a human and feel human. They had to do their job. I understand that. But they were just rude on top of it, and lying and calling the police and saying I did this and did that. And I'm like, whoa, dude, all I'm saying is I want to call my friend because we're on this dark road, and I want to have someone here instead of leaving me on the side of the road and no one's here to get me. I don't want to be left out like that. You can't just take my car. All I'm asking is just for you to wait. And so the cops ended up coming, and they waited with me, and my friend came to pick me up. So that's like a whole thing. So my car was repoed. Just to sum that all up, my car was repoed 3 times, okay? So me and my baby Juke, even though I just sold her, we took care of each other. We've been through some stuff, okay? So during this whole year, me waiting for that big check, I finally got the big check. I was able to pay my car off. I ended up getting an apartment at December the 16th specifically of 2018 is when I signed my lease. So I had my apartment for like 4 years or so. I was living off those residuals, which really lasted me that long. And then the pandemic happened. And at that time, I did start a YouTube channel at that time. So that's when I say when I'm coming back to YouTube, I started a brand called Decide to Succeed, along with a podcast as well, or talk show rather, I was calling it. And this was just sharing information, women sharing information about health and wellness and all the things that pertain to. But that was then, and then now coming back to it, I just feel this personal connection that I feel that I need to make with you all, and I am just grateful again that you're here. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit this like button so that we can continue to grow, share, support, and love each other. And also during this time, during that year, that's when I heavily into Abraham Hicks. I got into Joe Dispenza. I started eventually studying Ernest Holmes. So after I was in my apartment, that's when I started tapping into Ernest Holmes, as well as Number One guy. He really shed a lot of information that I really tapped into and understood on this level, to where I was able to really transform my paradigm. So Neville Goddard is like my number one. Abraham Hicks, I did a lot of her reading and studying and listening to a lot of her messages. Joe Dispenza provided a lot of information that was very helpful. And Sadhguru, I love Sadhguru. I listened to a lot of his messages as well. So collectively, all of these were like my spiritual mentors. And spirituality is something that became very important to me, and I became very intentional about my approach and my spiritual practices. And now that I have gained so much and learned so much and grown so much, it is my responsibility to share that and to give that back. So going to post-pandemic. So post-pandemic, at the time I was living off my residuals, one, and that was coming to an end, of course. And then I also was just doing a lot of stand-in work and a lot of background work. I didn't have an agent at the time. The agent that I did have had to close during the pandemic. So I no longer had an agent, but I was still doing stand-in and background work, but that work had come to a very little minimum. So I wasn't really making enough income to keep up with the rent. So I ended up homeless, living out of my car once again. Put everything in storage. I was living out of my car. And at this time I was like, okay, I want to go back home for a couple of months, figure things out, maybe, figure out what I'm going to do, and then come back. And at the time, I said, okay, I know I need new headshots. I want to get some things taken care of career-wise before I leave. So during that month, and the reason I stayed during that month was because I had an appointment for my headshots, as well as to shoot a reel that I was preparing for as well. So I did the headshots, and then the second thing and the last thing was getting my reel done. That was on the 6th of April. I shot my reel the 6th of April. When I was done, it was like 3 p.m. And then I went to have lunch with one of the actors that I shot my reel with. Around 4 p.m. I headed to my storage, packed up my storage, and then hit the road. And I drove back. Now, mind you, but prior to that, when I was laying in my car, because I had spoken to my mom prior, because I was going to leave my car on this road where a lot of people leave their cars, and it's like no, you know, parking time limits or anything. So I was going to leave my car there because I think, okay, maybe I'll be gone for 4 to 5 weeks. So I was going to leave my car and then go and then come back. And then my mom had spoken to her maybe a couple days prior, and she was like, why don't you drive, so that if you're going to be here for at least a month or maybe 2 months, you'll be able to get around. So I woke up that morning of my reel, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up in my car and I was like, I'm going to drive. I'm going to pack my luggage and I'm gonna drive. So after I got done with my reel, went to my storage, packed up, my car was to the brim because I was like, I'm going to be there for a couple of months. I really wanted to spend time with my family, figure out some things before I come back to LA. So I packed up, I headed out, 7 p.m. This was the Thursday, I believe. So 7 p.m. and then I hit the road during, I don't know, maybe a half a day into my drive. I was driving and I was just thinking to myself and contemplating. I was like, what am I going back to when I do come back? Like, what am I coming back to? And I was thinking, and I was like, I don't have a job. I don't have an agent. I don't have a significant other. I love my friends, but I don't feel super bonded and definitely connected where I just can't go without seeing a particular individual. And so at that moment, I realized I don't have anything to go back to. So why would I go back? And at that very moment, I realized, I was like, I don't think I'm just going for a visit. I think I'm moving. So at that point, I was just like, yeah, I'm moving back home. My time in LA, the journey that I had to experience to get to where I needed to be, was complete. It had come to an end. That chapter was closed. And then I felt really proud in that moment because I had endured a lot and I came out on the other side. I didn't die, you know, I'm still here, I'm still kicking, and I'm still able to live and breathe and to tell this story. So I'm so appreciative of that. So I ended up getting here, I don't know, it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. And I think it was like Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 a.m. I arrived at my sister's house. And eventually I ended up staying with my mom for a couple months. And then I came back to the Dallas area because my mom lives out in East Texas. So I came back and finally found a job. Was working this job for about 1 year and 4 months before I was recently terminated. So this is another reason that adds to the reason why I'm coming back to YouTube as well, because during that time, towards like the 2-3 months towards the end of that time frame before I was fired, my mental health began to go down because I was yearning so deeply to just wake up and be creative and do what I wanted to do for that day. And mind you, I had gotten an agent and I had booked my first TV role. Oh, let me pause for a moment. So this is one of my successes after, of course, 16 years and 2 months that I lived in LA and was pursuing. I did book a national commercial, so that was a success. Moving back home, getting an agent here in the Dallas, Texas area, and booking my first TV role, which was Landman. I played Margaret, the head nurse, or the director nurse on Landman, the TV show with Billy Bob Thornton, Ali Larter, Jacob Laughlin, and Michelle Randolph. Incredible cast, incredible humans. I didn't get to meet Billy Bob or the other characters. I met and worked with Ali Lauder and Michelle Randolph, who were some wonderful, warm, beautiful human beings, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to work for them, along with being able to work on a Taylor Sheridan project. I mean, goodness, a Taylor Sheridan project. is monumental. It's paramount. Plug. It's paramount because he creates such work that is so raw and rooted and grounded in humanity and the realness of life. So I'm just so appreciative that him, his team, and the directors I was able to work with, both Michael Friedman as well as Stephen Kay, and they were wonderful directors as well. So I'm just grateful for that win. So yes, I booked my first TV role, and then after that, because that kind of got me super hype and I was just wanting to do more of that every day, so my mental health began to deplete because I had to sit down at this desk and take calls, and people would cuss you out and yell and not be, you know, understand the value that you're trying to help them, and they just, not everyone, but a lot of the times. And that was getting to me. I was like, I don't feel valued. At the end of the day, my energy was drained. I didn't feel like I could be creative. I ended up on the couch every day and just like was non-productive whatsoever, until one day I came across my sketchbook, and then I started to say, okay, let me just start sketching again. So I started sketching and doing my arts while I was working. So I started tapping into and learning like watercolors and trying to get better at realistic sketching and doing art journaling. So I was doing all this art at my desk while I'm working, because my job is pretty much, or was pretty much, taking calls. So I just allowed the calls to interrupt my artwork. And this brought me so much peace, and I became in a state of flow. Like whenever I'm creating, I'm in this state of flow, and it feels so good. The days went by so fast until, pardon me, the days went by so fast until the day I got fired. The day I got fired, and let me tell you, the day I got fired, is my microphone on? The day I got fired, I was smiling ear to ear. I was in a state of bliss. I was so happy. I was just like, yes, like I don't have to sit at this desk anymore. And I was just so happy. I just felt like a new sense of freedom, a new sense of liberation. It was like the universe giving me the permission to be free. So that is why, again, I'm coming back to this YouTube platform, jumping on this easy mode train, and just grateful that it's available to me as an opportunity, as a platform, as a way to express myself and to share and to connect with you all. I had to switch my battery out. Okay, so where was I? Oh yes, so I was living check to check because I had saved up when I was living with my sister for that year. I got my own place, and I was check to check, right? So being check to check, I literally just used pretty much my last funds to pay this month's rent. I only have about half on next month's rent. I used 3 credit cards to pay this ridiculous energy bill of $386.51, and my regular bank card, 4 methods of payment to cover this bill. I have depleted all of my funds. So yeah, so this YouTube easy mode, I am already seeing and believing that it's really going to turn out very well for me. So thank you, YouTube. Thank you, YouTube leaders, CEOs that have really put some attention on small creators and us gaining and building a following, because we need that opportunity, and that opportunity is very much appreciated. But just to wrap up, I just want to say that even though this is my story, my purpose of my YouTube channel, which is Plant Body Mystic, I just feel a great sense of purpose because I love learning about plant foods and the nutritional value that it provides, and just learning different recipes and just being able to share in the knowledge of whole plant food, the power that has, the power that your subconscious mind has, and becoming aware to reach the goals that you have, whether that's a weight, whether that's just being healthy with the foods that you eat, and just living the life that you desire and thriving and knowing that you have the power to do that. And again, I'm grateful for you hitting that like button. I'm grateful for your subscribing to my channel, and I'm grateful to hear the comments on maybe what your story is, maybe shed a little bit of light on if you connect with my story at all, if you're an actor, if you're just a creative person that you just need to create and you can't do anything else. Regular day jobs just won't cut it. And at this point, I am like, I literally was online about to fill out an application and I got sick to my stomach. I was like, I don't want to go back to this. I don't want to do this. So I was like, you know what, let me crack down. And then I literally started just pouring out all of what was in me. I have guides drafted and a couple created so far that I'm going to be able to offer to you. There's going to be some free information and guides, and there's going to be some paid, because I think the value in my story and being vulnerable enough to share it, it's very sacred to me. And I appreciate your appreciation in taking the steps to invest in your awareness journey and to invest in your life. And the cats keep crossing, so if you see me looking up, the cats run across the top of the fence and they just keep bouncing back and forth. And it grabbed my attention. But anywho, I just appreciate you valuing yourself to invest in the products that I'm providing, as well as investing your time and just watching the free videos here on the YouTube channel as well. So again, I am grateful for you being here. I appreciate you. I want to continue to share, grow, and love on each other, because we are one. We are in this lifetime together. We need each other. So let's thrive together. And I have some big plans for this channel. I have big plans for this community. So join in now, because we are about to just thrive in this lifetime. There's no limitations. We are growing, we are learning, we are supporting each other. And again, I'm Deidre, aka D, Plant Body Mystic. Thank you for being here.